Hollywood has always loved beautiful faces. Perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect bodies. The actresses we saw on movie posters often looked flawless. But sometimes, becoming a character meant doing the complete opposite. Some actresses gained weight. Some lost it. Some shaved their heads. Some changed their hair, eyebrows, teeth, or facial features. Others trained their bodies for months until they barely looked like the women audiences knew. And in some cases, the transformation was so extreme that even people who knew the actress could barely recognize her. But there's something important to remember. Not every actress on this list was literally forced by a studio. Some chose these transformations themselves because they believed the character demanded it. Others faced intense expectations from directors, producers, or the industry. Either way, the result was the same. The glamorous Hollywood image disappeared, and a completely different woman appeared on screen. These are 11 Hollywood actresses who dramatically changed their appearance for some of their most unforgettable movie roles. And some of these transformations are almost impossible to believe. Number 1. Charlize Theron. Before Monster, Charlize Theron represented almost everything Hollywood considered glamorous. Tall, blonde, elegant, and unmistakably beautiful. She had already built a reputation as one of the most striking actresses of her generation. Then came Eileen Wuornos. Wuornos was a real woman whose life was dramatically different from Theron's. To portray her in Monster, Theron didn't simply put on a costume and change her hairstyle. She changed her entire physical appearance. She gained significant weight. Her eyebrows were altered. Her teeth were transformed with prosthetics. Her skin was changed with layers of makeup designed to make her look older and more weathered. Her hair was deliberately made less glamorous. And perhaps most importantly, Theron changed the way she moved. The woman audiences saw on screen no longer carried herself like a Hollywood star. She looked tired, hard, angry, broken. The transformation was so convincing that it became difficult to separate Theron from Wuornos. That was exactly what Theron wanted. She didn't want the audience thinking about the actress underneath the makeup. She wanted them to believe they were watching a real person. And the transformation became one of the most famous physical transformations in modern cinema. But the makeup alone wasn't responsible. Theron had to completely change her behavior, voice, posture, expressions, and emotional state. The glamorous image Hollywood had built around her disappeared. And in its place was a character that audiences found almost frightening to look at. The risk paid off. Theron's performance became one of the defining performances of her career. Sometimes the greatest transformation isn't becoming more beautiful. It's becoming almost unrecognizable. Number 2. Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway had already become one of Hollywood's most recognizable young actresses when she accepted the role of Fantine in Les Miserables. But Fantine was not supposed to look like the polished actress audiences knew. She was a poor woman struggling to survive. And Hathaway was prepared to change herself dramatically. One of the most memorable moments came when she cut her long hair. And she didn't simply pretend to cut it. The hair was actually removed. For an actress known for her long, beautiful hair, the transformation was immediate. But that was only the beginning. Hathaway also dramatically changed her weight for the role. Her character was supposed to look physically exhausted and close to starvation. So Hathaway pushed herself to an extreme physical state to make Fantine believable. The transformation was painful, demanding, and emotionally difficult. But there was another challenge. She had to perform the songs live. That meant there was nowhere to hide. Her voice, breathing, face, and physical condition were all exposed. When audiences finally saw Fantine on screen, the actress they knew from glamorous premieres had almost disappeared. Her face looked thinner. Her hair was gone. Her character looked exhausted. And that was exactly the point. Hathaway wasn't trying to look like Anne Hathaway anymore. She was trying to look like Fantine. The transformation became part of the performance itself. And it helped turn one of the most famous actresses of her generation into one of the most tragic characters in the film. Sometimes an actress doesn't need special effects to disappear. Sometimes she simply has to give up the appearance everyone already knows. Number 3. Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman had one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. Red hair, elegant features, a distinctive appearance. So when she was cast as writer Virginia Woolf in The Hours, the filmmakers faced a problem. How do you make Nicole Kidman disappear? The answer involved makeup, costume, hairstyle, posture, and one extremely noticeable feature: a prosthetic nose. The nose dramatically changed the proportions of Kidman's face. Her hair was also styled differently. Her complexion was changed. Her eyebrows and makeup were adjusted. And her posture became part of the transformation. When the finished character appeared on screen, Kidman looked almost nothing like the actress audiences were accustomed to seeing. But the goal wasn't simply to make her ugly. The goal was to make her look like another person. And that distinction matters. A bad transformation makes an actor look like they're wearing makeup. A great transformation makes you forget there is makeup at all. Kidman had to go further. She had to reproduce Wolf's mannerisms. Her voice. Her movements. Her expressions. Her emotional distance. The result was one of the most dramatic transformations of Kidman's career. And it proved something important. A beautiful actress doesn't necessarily need to remain beautiful on screen. Sometimes the more completely she disappears, the more powerful the performance becomes. Number 4. Rooney Mara. Rooney Mara's transformation for the girl with the dragon tattoo was completely different. There wasn't one single prosthetic that changed her. Instead, dozens of small changes combined to create an entirely new person. Her character, Lisbeth Salander, was supposed to look rebellious, intimidating, and almost disconnected from normal society. So Mara changed her hair. She bleached her eyebrows. She added piercings. She used tattoos. Her clothing became darker. Her makeup became harsher. And her entire physical presence changed. The eyebrows alone made an enormous difference. When you remove or bleach eyebrows, the proportions of the face suddenly look completely different. But Mara didn't stop there. She also changed the way she moved. Lisbeth didn't walk like a glamorous actress. She moved with a defensive, almost aggressive physicality. Her eyes were colder. Her expressions were more controlled. She seemed like someone who didn't trust anyone around her. And that was crucial. Because Lisbeth wasn't supposed to look like Rooney Mara playing a character. She was supposed to look like Lisbeth Salander had stepped directly out of the novel. Mara committed completely. The final appearance became one of the most recognizable transformations of her career. And it showed that sometimes you don't need to change your entire face. You just need to change enough small details that the person underneath disappears. Number 5. Natalie Portman. Some transformations take months. This one took only minutes. For V for Vendetta, Natalie Portman played Evie Hammond. At one point in the film, Evie's head is shaved. And Portman actually shaved her head for the scene. There was no hiding behind a wig. No clever camera trick. No fake hair. Her real hair was removed. For a major Hollywood actress, it was an extraordinary decision. Hair is one of the strongest parts of a person's appearance. Change the hair, and the entire face can suddenly look different. Remove it completely, and the transformation becomes even more dramatic. But the scene wasn't designed simply to shock the audience. It represented the character losing control over her own life. The physical transformation became part of the story. Portman had to allow herself to become visually vulnerable. There was nowhere to hide. No glamorous hairstyle. No traditional Hollywood beauty tricks. Just her face, her eyes, and the character. And that's what made the transformation so effective. The audience wasn't supposed to admire Natalie Portman's appearance. They were supposed to feel what Evie was experiencing. Fear, confusion, powerlessness, and eventually, strength. Sometimes removing something can create a stronger transformation than adding anything at all. Number 6. Demi Moore. In G.I. Jane, Demi Moore played Jordan O'Neill, a woman attempting to survive an elite military training program. And the first thing that changed was immediately visible. Her hair. Moore shaved her head for the role. For a major Hollywood actress, this was a huge visual change. But the shaved head was only the beginning. Moore also went through demanding physical preparation to make her body believable as a military trainee. She needed to look strong. Not glamorous. Not delicate. Strong. The traditional Hollywood image of Demi Moore was replaced by something much harder. The shaved head removed one of the most recognizable symbols of feminine glamour. And that helped the audience see the character differently. O'Neill wasn't entering the military to look beautiful. She was entering a world where physical strength, discipline, endurance, and toughness mattered. Moore's physical preparation therefore became part of the storytelling. Every muscle, every movement, every exhausted expression, everything helped sell the character. And there was something almost symbolic about the transformation. Hollywood had spent years presenting actresses with carefully styled hair and glamorous appearances. G.I. Jane took all of that away. What remained was the character. and more proved that she could carry the screen without relying on the image audiences had come to associate with her. Number 7. Hilary Swank. Before Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank was not yet one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Then she took on one of the most challenging roles of her career. Brandon Teena. The character required Swank to completely change the way she presented herself. Her hair was cut and styled differently. Her clothes became masculine. Her mannerisms changed. Her voice and body language changed. But the transformation wasn't simply about putting on men's clothing. Swank had to convince the audience that they were looking at Brandon. That meant learning how Brandon walked, how he stood, how he looked at people, how he interacted with the world. The transformation became so convincing that it was easy for viewers to forget they were watching an actress. And that's one of the hardest things any performer can achieve. Swank's performance was not built around looking glamorous. In fact, it was almost the opposite. She had to surrender the traditional image of a leading Hollywood actress. She had to become someone else. And the performance became a major turning point in her career. It earned enormous critical attention and ultimately brought her an Academy Award for Best Actress. The lesson was simple. Sometimes an actress becomes more powerful on screen by becoming less recognizable. Number 8. Renée Zellweger. Not every transformation requires prosthetics. Sometimes the biggest change is the one audiences can see on the actress's body. For Bridget Jones's Diary, Renée Zellweger played Bridget Jones. And Bridget was deliberately imperfect. She worried about her weight. She worried about dating. She worried about getting older. She worried about how other people saw her. And Zellweger physically gained weight for the role. The transformation became one of the most talked about aspects of the film. Why? Because audiences were accustomed to seeing Hollywood actresses presented according to extremely narrow beauty standards. Zellweger's Bridget was different. She wasn't supposed to look like a perfect Hollywood heroine. She was supposed to look like an ordinary woman. A woman who could eat too much. A woman who could feel insecure. A woman who could look in the mirror and wonder whether she was good enough. The physical transformation therefore wasn't simply a joke. It was part of the character's identity. And it helped make Bridget feel relatable. But Zellweger also had to change her behavior. Her expressions became more awkward. Her body language became less polished. She stumbled. She embarrassed herself. She didn't always know what to say. The result was a character audiences connected with because she felt human rather than perfect. In a world obsessed with Hollywood beauty, Bridget Jones became memorable precisely because she didn't fit the perfect image. Number 9. Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz was already known as one of Hollywood's most glamorous actresses. Then she appeared in Being John Malkovich. And suddenly, she looked completely different. The transformation wasn't based on one dramatic prosthetic. Instead, the filmmakers removed much of Diaz's usual glamour. Her hair was deliberately styled in an awkward way. Her clothing was ordinary. Her makeup was minimal. Her overall appearance was intentionally unpolished. And it worked. Audiences didn't see the glamorous Cameron Diaz they knew from her other films. They saw Lotta Schwartz, a quirky, ordinary woman with a completely different personality. This is an important lesson about Hollywood transformations. You don't always need to make an actress look older, heavier, scarier, or completely different. Sometimes you simply need to remove the things that make her look like a movie star. The hair, the makeup, the clothes, the polished posture, the confidence. Take all of that away, and suddenly the same actress can become someone audiences barely recognize. Diaz's performance proved that glamour itself can be a disguise. And sometimes the most effective way to transform a star is simply to take the glamour away. Number 10. Michelle Williams. Playing Marilyn Monroe might be one of the most intimidating challenges an actress can accept. Because Marilyn Monroe wasn't simply famous. She was an image. Blonde hair, red lips, perfect makeup, a distinctive voice, a distinctive walk, a distinctive smile. Almost everyone knows what Marilyn Monroe looked like. So Michelle Williams had an enormous challenge in My Week with Marilyn. She didn't have to simply look beautiful. She had to look like Marilyn. The makeup team carefully recreated the famous features. Her eyebrows, her lips, her eyes, her hairstyle, her costumes. But physical resemblance alone wasn't enough. Williams had to learn Monroe's mannerisms. The way she moved, the way she spoke, the way she smiled, the way she looked at people. And perhaps most importantly, the vulnerability beneath the glamorous image. Because Marilyn Monroe's public image was only one side of her. Behind the blonde hair and famous smile was a complicated woman who struggled with insecurity and pressure. Williams had to show both sides, the glamorous icon and the vulnerable person underneath. That's why the transformation worked. It wasn't simply a costume. It was a complete performance. And Williams' portrayal became one of the most acclaimed performances of her career. It showed that recreating an icon isn't about copying a face. It's about recreating the person behind the face. Number 11. Mila Kunis. And finally, Mila Kunis. For Black Swan, Kunis faced a transformation that wasn't mainly about makeup or prosthetics. It was about her body. Her character was a ballet dancer. And Kunis wasn't simply expected to look like one. She had to move like one. That meant months of intense training. Ballet, strength work, stretching, dance practice, and long hours of physical preparation. Kunis reportedly lost significant weight during the process. Her body became leaner, stronger, more conditioned. But ballet created another challenge. The movements had to look natural. The audience couldn't feel that they were watching an actress pretending to be a dancer. They needed to believe she had trained for years. That meant learning the physical vocabulary of ballet. The posture, the movements, the balance, the way the body reacts to exhaustion. And the process was extremely demanding. Kunis suffered injuries during the preparation and later spoke about how difficult the experience had been. But on screen, the physical transformation helped make her character believable. And that's what connects her story to all the others. A transformation doesn't have to be visible through makeup. Sometimes it's hidden in the way an actress moves. The way she stands. The way she breathes. The way she carries her body. The audience may not know exactly what changed, but they can feel that something is different. And that is the power of transformation. 11 actresses. 11 completely different approaches. Charlize Theron changed her face and body to disappear into a real-life character. And Hathaway sacrificed her long hair and dramatically changed her physical appearance. Nicole Kidman hid her famous features beneath prosthetics and makeup. Rooney transformed her hair, eyebrows, piercings, tattoos, and entire physical presence. Natalie Portman removed her hair completely. Demi turned herself into a military recruit. Hilary Swank changed her appearance and mannerisms to become Brandon Tina. Renée Zellweger changed her body to become Bridget Jones. Diaz stripped away her Hollywood glamour. Michelle Williams recreated one of the most recognizable women in history. And Mila Kunis pushed her body through months of intense training. But there's a bigger story behind all of these transformations. Hollywood has always been obsessed with appearance. How an actress looks. How old she appears. How much she weighs. How her hair looks. How her face photographs. How glamorous she can be. But the most memorable performances often happen when all of that disappears. When the actress stops looking like a celebrity and starts looking like a person. Because audiences don't remember Charlize Theron in Monster because she looked glamorous. They remember her because they forgot they were watching Charlize Theron. They don't remember Anne Hathaway's perfect Hollywood image when they think of Fantine. They remember the woman who had almost nothing left. They don't remember Nicole Kidman simply as Nicole Kidman when they see Virginia Woolf. They remember the character. And that's the strange thing about Hollywood. The industry can spend years creating a star's image. And then sometimes the greatest thing that star can do is destroy that image completely. The hair can disappear. The makeup can change. The body can change. The glamorous clothes can disappear. And when all of that is gone, the performance has nowhere left to hide. That's when you find out what the actress is really capable of. And perhaps that's why these transformations remain so fascinating. Because for a few hours on screen, we forget the celebrity. We forget the red carpets. We forget the magazine covers. We forget the famous face. And we simply believe in the character. That is when a transformation becomes more than makeup. It becomes acting.